Page 14.
I thought we'd already made our decision on that, haven't
There's something easy.
And on that last one, please, for the record.
Pardon me?
Everyone voted for it.
It'll be noted as unanimous, will it, in the minutes?
Can be, yes.
Can be, if you call for division. Yeah.
So, councillors, back to page 14, where I think we may have started the discussion last night, or actually decided to call it a night when we got to this page. So, this particular submission, or there's two submitters around this topic. There was Mr. Newman, who presented on behalf of WOW, and then there was Mr. Barry Crabb. And their concerns were obviously around, these are not the consenting issues that came up later in the Clifton one, so if we can perhaps consider that one straight after, but these particular ones here were especially, certainly from the WOW point of view, around looking at the certainty of a gravel supply. And so Mr. Adey was asked to go away and talk to Gary Clode about where that got to. So I'll just ask him to give an update on that.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Gary Clode had a very short conversation, at the site of where they had proposed to take gravel from the Tukituki River. Made it pretty clear what he thought was available, and that is pretty limited. And they asked about other sites, and he suggested they go and talk to the other extractors. So that was as far as the conversation has gone. Yes, I'm pretty sure that at Wholesome site on Merry Road, out sort of upstream from Fern Hill, that they do have quite a lot of byproduct, a whole stockpile of byproduct there. It may be that is suitable. That needs to be worked through. But really, I've spoken to John O'Shaughnessy at Hastings District Council this morning. They were not aware of the proposal by WOW that was put up to them yesterday as well as to us. They had no prior knowledge that WOW had come up with a smaller scheme. They will obviously give that consideration, and depending on their council's decision on that submission, and I'm presuming they will be considering that today, they may or may not decide to seek a resource consent for it.
Preempt anything there, but I had a chat to the Mayor last night and he was decidedly lukewarm on it. But I don't want to preempt anything. They may decide to go with it. Who knows? He gets one vote like everyone else. Any other questions on this? We did thrash this out a bit yesterday. We're still reasonably unclear whether that material is going to be quantity and quality adequate, obviously, but until someone pushes the button and a whole lot of extra work gets done, I suspect we will still remain unclear. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, the byproduct is a very specific size, so it is just a single size, basically a pea metal type size. The other possibility is one of those gravel extractors may decide that they don't want part of their allocation, but that's a pretty big ask, really. I think they will be protecting that side of their allocation pretty well.
Yeah. Further questions, Councillor Belvin? No. Well, let's get to a resolution and decide. And that covers it. Okay. We have a seconder for that. Or do you have a question?
I'd hope the covering letter at least say that the council will consider any resource consent that's lodged with it expeditiously, or something to that effect.
That's fine.
I would hope also that the...
Well, hang on, let's get a seconder for that, and then... There was a mover, and if we can get a seconder, then all these good ideas can permeate in the discussion. We can have a vote. So moved. I'm happy to second that. We'll test it. No change to the annual plan because...
Mr. Chairman, in speaking to this, there is a process that needs to be. There is a process to be followed in this. This council always considers applications expeditiously. We have a very good record of delivering within timeframes. There are very strict timeframes now laid down by the Act, and this council actually meets those timeframes. So we have a plan. We cannot circumvent our plan. We cannot circumvent the national policy statement on the coastal plan, coastal policy statement, and we cannot circumvent the RMA. So the proper process is to advise them, and I'm sure the staff will give every assistance that's needed should the proposal come forward for it. But there is no circumvention of process in this place, so I don't think there's anything else to be added about the fact that, yes, the staff always try to deliver the best in meeting the requirements of the Act, and I sort of look towards the manager of that area, and I know that that's the case there. So
I don't know if anyone...
Now I'm seconder. I'm the seconder, and I wish to speak. The challenges here gone on for years. There's photos back in the 70s of coastal erosion along that part of the world, and it is very challenging. Information on climate change, sea pattern change, all sorts of things. Higher cresting waves, as one example, is a huge challenge. So I'm happy to support this and deal with any applicant, whoever that may be, when they come along in a as expediently as we normally do. I mean, this council is reasonably proactive, in fact more than reasonably proactive in dealing with these issues. And an offline discussion will preempt an application, because they won't apply if it's going to be too long, arduous, if there's some challenges they haven't thought about. So I'm more than happy to support the status quo as far as the annual plan goes. Let's deal with any applicant, whoever that may be, when they arrive. We need to see the scope of what they want to do. We need to see what the expert evidence says. And I think the time is now, though, for Hastings to push the button on this. If this is going to happen, it needs to happen soon. They need to get on with it. And as applicant, they come to us. I mean, the process is very straightforward as far as processes go. Anyway, Councillor Dick, you wish to speak?
All I'm getting at is the bald statement that there is no change to the annual plan unless it is explained properly in a courteous and helpful manner, is just a slap in the face, and it's what leads to misinformation about the standard of service and responsiveness of this council. I just think we've got to be very careful about that. I mean, we've been talking before about community engagement. Hey, this is a major component of community engagement, and let's do it right. Let's not offend people unnecessarily through being pedantic.
Thank you. Councillor Belford.
Yeah, I would just want to amplify that. There wasn't any dollar implication in the submission that was made. I think, given all the publicity that we have given to the COMAR report and the implications of the COMAR report and so forth, I think what is bothering WOW in particular, as the submission we're dealing with here, is has the regional council implicitly or effectively adopted a broader policy already that we are not going to permit the addressing of any localized short-term issues, and this would be something that's on the mind of the Clifton folks as well, because we in some way have already embraced the notion that we're going to do a 3-year coastal strategy exercise, and until that is completed and takes us wherever it's taking us, everything else is left to sink or swim on its own. And so I think what the message that is conveyed is important. If we've made that decision, then we should codify it somewhere and say that that's our position going into this 3-year study process. We're not going to let anyone mess around with a coastline in any way, shape, or form until we do our 3-year study. If we are in fact prepared to take a consent application, if it materializes on its merits, then that's what we should be clearly communicating. And it is, I think, a language issue here, but we have, I think the signals coming from this council have been, whoa, we did this study, huge implications, huge dollars involved once we actually get involved in all the implications of this, and let's freeze everything until we complete that process. If that's our position, fine, then let's make our position clear. If it's not, then let's be kind and gentle in the way we respond to these requests that are currently in front of us.
Councillor Bevan.
Thanks, Chair. I guess my comments are along the same lines to a degree. I'd like to see us convey to the WOW group, who are the submitters, that we're engaging with Hastings and Napier on developing a longer-term strategy, but that we are open to which parts get prioritised, because that's what's going to have to happen. So I guess that's the first thing. The second thing is their whole plan and their financing of this is predicated on the cost of shingle. That's the single biggest cost by a country mile. And sources of shingle are absolutely critical to them, and I think it's really important for us to, and I've been down to Redbridge with Mike, and I think Tom was there as well, and I think we've quantified the amount of shingle that's available there at about 50,000 tonnes, but I think the project that they had in mind needs something like 270, I think it is, 1,000 tonnes, so there's a hell of a lot more they need to find, and being able to source shingle at a rate that makes this project doable for them is critical to make it work. So I think probably I think we probably need to be ready to know what other sources of shingle may be available for them, and where those sources are. So I'd like to think that the staff will proceed with that as well.
Other commentary before we get to the motion. Councillor Hewitt, do you have a comment? Sorry. Councillor Pipe. Wish to sum up?
Mr. Chairman, before I do, as there was an objection to the term, I'm happy to change the resolution to no change to the plan, but the submitter be informed the council will respond to any consent application with best practice.
And I'm happy to second that.
But then we must remember, Mr. Chairman, that we comment on every single one with similar comments, quite apart from the fact that there will be personal letters written to everybody.
Thank you. And in putting this motion, I will be in touch with Mr. Newman in the next day or two, personally. So I'll put that motion, and all those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried.